morning. Welcome to Payoff Pitch, presented by our friends at DraftKings. We got the World Series first pitch happening in a matter of hours. The windows are open. It's the most exciting time in sports. We got a marquee event, a championship event, and we got a championship team to break it down. All the odds, all the picks, all the research, all the data, all the analysis with Collin Wilson, BJ Cunningham, Sean Zerillo, the Action Network crew that has been here for the entire second half of the baseball season. Fellas, we made it. We're finally there. I'm excited. By the way, kudos to Major League Baseball because they started this season in the swirl of the pandemic, vaccines coming out, having to manage in a new world order. We got through an entire baseball season. We're down to the World Series. Exciting for all of us. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's get to our best bets. Collin Wilson, you're up first.
Yeah, I just want to say it's been a great MLB season for a guy that went down to the Cactus League and they had all of the chairs strapped up. You couldn't sit within 10 feet of anybody. Spring training was like, it was weird. It was like an alternate universe. So great season by MLB. I'm going to go with the under 4.5 first five tonight. It's juiced a little bit, but there's a reason why I want to play first five instead of the entire game on the under. The Atlanta Braves have issues with both sinkers and lefties. That is not a good combination against Framber Valdez off that 8-inning sinker ball clinic against the Red Sox. You look at the lineup for the Braves with Travis d'Arnaud and Austin Riley and Jorge Soler maybe batting first tonight. Freddie Freeman, they combined for a -13 net run value against sinker balls. And if you look at the other side with Charlie Morton going, he's, not unfamiliar with pitching in Minute Maid Park. 2 dominating performances in the 2017 postseason, a pretty forgettable performance in 2018 against the Red Sox as an Astro. But Morton throws a four-seam and a curveball at the same rate, but the big numbers come with the curveball, a huge negative run value against opposing hitters. The Astros have been vanilla against the curveball all year, except for one player, Kyle Tucker. We can pitch around him. If these two teams are going to force low launch angles, ground balls, then you have to look at defensive run saves, one of the biggest metrics for defense. And, the Astros and the Braves rank 3rd and 8th respectively in that category. I want to leave the lefty heavy bullpen out of Atlanta out of this cap. So I'm going to take under 4.5 first five.
Well, I love that because every week on the show, our friend from Iowa, BJ Cunningham, tries to find the nicest ways possible to disagree with you, Colin. And he will probably find a way to do it again with his bet. In fact, I can almost guarantee it.
I'm going to shock you. I'm actually going to agree with Colin on this pick. I'm going to go under 8.5 runs for the full game at -120. Colin hit the nail right on the head. This is a horrible matchup for Atlanta tonight. They are horrible against sinkers, -17.7 run value on the season, and they're 25th in weighted runs created plus against left-handed pitching. And Valdez goes to his sinker 51.8% of the time. So that's a big problem for the Braves lineup. And big game Charlie Morton didn't pitch that well in game 3. And yeah, he gave up a home run on his curveball to Corey Seager. But for the season, Morton's curveball has been really good. It's only allowing a 171 expected batting average. And like Colin mentioned, that's a pitch the Astros struggle against. Since the trade deadline, they have a -1.9 run value, which is 23rd in Major League Baseball. And, opponents are only hitting 192 against Morton this postseason. He's given up a lot of walks. And both bullpens have been pretty good in non-blowout games. The Braves had the one blow up against the Dodgers last series. But other than that, they've been pretty good in games that just aren't 9-0. So I'm going to go under 8.5 runs for the full games because I do think the bullpens will be good enough to get this under to the window.
So you kind of did disagree with him because
kind of.
He liked the under 4.5 because he doesn't trust the bullpens. You like the under 8.5 because you do trust the bullpens. Why do you trust the bullpens if we know Colin doesn't trust the bullpens?
Well, I think that, obviously the lefty heavy coming out for the Braves is not good against the Astros lineup because they're number one, in weighted runs created plus against lefties. But, a lot of the bullpen troubles really, like I already said, basically came in those blowout games. The Braves had the one bad 9th inning against the Dodgers where they lost at 5-4. But other than that, the Astros absolutely shut down the Red Sox in the last 3 games of the series. And so, I do trust these bullpens, especially in game 1 when the hitters haven't really seen them that much. As we get deeper in the series, the hitters are going to be able to know what's coming out of the bullpen. But for game 1, I'm going to trust the bullpens.
That is the meanest slight you've had against Collin Wilson all season long. You basically told him His logic about the bullpens is flawed and silly. And I can't believe you would call him outright stupid on the show like that. That is almost nasty. Sean Zerillo, can you end this fight between Colin and BJ? What is your best bet?
I'm going to go against both of them because I found an over 1.5 total bases that I like. Going against Framber Valdez, my colleagues just set me up beautifully because they talked about the Braves' struggles against left-handed pitching, both in the first half and after the trade deadline, in addition to their struggles against fastballs. But there is one hitter on their team who ranks well against both sinkers and curveballs, which is what Valdez throws. In his last start, 66% sinkers, 1/3 curveballs. That would be Adam Duvall, +5 run value against sinkers this season. Not only is he first on the team in sinkers, he's first in all of baseball against curveballs, +18, double that of any other hitter. So maybe Valdez goes to his changeup a little bit more tonight to try to neutralize Duvall. Duvall's splits against lefties, poor on this season, but 3 out of the past 4 years, he has been better against lefties as compared to righties, and his splits for his career are pretty neutral. So Duvall, the one hitter on the Braves, who I think can have success against Valdez, really like his over 1.5 total bases prop at +150.
All right. So you like Adam Duvall over 1.5 total bases. Here's my question. I'm going off script here. Started to do this to Gifford Gould producing for the first time. How many baseball games are there in a year? Like 4,000 each team, like 4,500. How many games, Sean Zerillo? I'm trying to figure out who's watched the most games this year of this panel. How many games do you think you watched this year?
Well, I think there's 2,430 regular season games, Chad. I probably have, if from start to finish, it's relatively limited, except for every playoff game. But over the course of the season, say I probably watched like 25 to 30% of the total innings that are going on in baseball, having about 3 or 4 games up at a time.
25 to 30% of the total innings. So that's like, let's see, 9 innings per game, 2,400 games. I don't know. That's like probably 22,000 innings. All right. BJ Cunningham, how many innings/games did you watch this year?
It's probably 10%. I'm a big daytime baseball guy. I love watching it during the day. At nights, sometimes I have responsibilities outside of this job. So I try to get as much as I can in late night, but I'd say I'm close to around 10% of all the innings in baseball this year.
As someone who goes to bed at 8:30, I can appreciate that. Colin, I can't even imagine how many innings of baseball you watched this year.
Well, it's quite interesting about when you say watch, because my sons and I, in case people don't know, they've already been to 17 MLB ballparks with me. That's more than their age. And so we went to 9 games this year in a number of different parks. So I've at least seen 9 back to front, but the watch is where I lose this because I listen every day on the radio. I am old school. Denny Matthews on the Royals call. I would listen to Scully at night on the radio. I love all the local broadcasters, hearing their voice because it makes me feel like the air and the electricity. Well, not really with the Mariners and the Marlins and stuff like that, but I listen to old school radio guys instead of actually watching the game. And that allows me to move around and do my activities. But MLB is always in my ears in the summer.
That's why I love you. All right, let's get back to the show. Bang, bang, bet. Our contestants, we're going to spin a wheel. They have to choose the over or under for whichever player the wheel lands on. Producer Gigi, please spin the wheel. Collin Wilson, you're up first, and we will get Carlos Correa over under half a hit. What do you got?
Let's go under half a hit with the juice at +160. Since Charlie Morton's departure from Houston, he's faced Carlos Correa 6 times. 5 of those ended up in a strikeout with a 31% whiff rate. That's not very good for Carlos Correa. He's been vanilla against curveballs this season. He's going to see a steady diet of them tonight. He's 0.8 run value per 100 pitches against the curve. And I expect Morton to go longer. Both pitchers, Valdez to go longer than people expect tonight, especially boosted by home plate umpire Chris Conroy. For those of you not paying attention, games 1, 2, and 6 have umpires with heavy strikeout boosts. So I expect both Valdez and Morton to get plenty of strikeouts. A 17% strikeout boost for those 3 games, those specific home plate umpires. So pay attention to that. But every pitcher is going to get the corner tonight. I preferred the over a half strikeout prop, but that had juiced over -160. So let's look past that juice and let's go under a half a hit +160.
I'm just loving the image of you sitting in your house in Oklahoma, researching college football in the middle of August, sipping a scotch and listening to baseball on the radio. BJ Cunningham, you are up next. GG, let's spin the wheel. Let's see where it lands for BJ Cunningham. He gets Framber Valdez, who we've mentioned a couple times this show, over under 4.5 strikeouts. What say you, BJ?
Yeah, over 4.5 strikeouts at +120. Look, we've already mentioned it. Fantastic matchup for Valdez tonight against the Braves lineup that struggles against sinkers and lefties. But his best pitch this season has by far been his curveball. He throws it around 30% of the time. He's only allowing a 153 expected batting average, 227 expected weighted on base average, and has a 44.4% whiff rate on it. The Braves have been good against curveballs overall this season, a +13.5 run value. But against left-handed curveballs specifically, they have a 26.5% K rate. And if we do some math and we take Valdez's average batter's face per start at 25.4 times his K percentage of 21.9% this season, we get a projection closer to around 5.5 strikeouts. So I love over 4.5 strikeouts, especially at plus money tonight.
All right. You like Framber Valdez over 4.5 strikeouts. Sean Zerillo, you're up next. GG, let's spin the wheel.
I also like Framber Valdez over 4.5 strikeouts, Chad.
That's not your place. Don't come in on BJ's tail here. You get Kyle Tucker over under 1.5 total bases.
Yeah, I gave you guys the one Braves player I think is a good matchup tonight. Kyle Tucker is my favorite matchup on the other side. Now, I believe Collin Wilson brought up Tucker, the only hitter on the Astros who has success against curveballs and could have success against Morton's curveball in particular. Morton throws his four-seam fastball a lot as well. Top 2 hitters on the Astros against fastballs. Jose Altuve +20 run value, and Kyle Tucker would be second. In my opinion, Tucker might be the best and most well-rounded player on the Astros in terms of being a complete baseball player. Really think this is a good matchup for him. He also averages over 2 total bases per game this season. +130, you only need him to cash 45.5% of the time to break even. So I think it's a good matchup for him. Like the odds, Kyle Tucker over 1.5 total bases at +130.
All right. Let's get to our last segment on the board. It's called Fade the Public. We asked you, the public, who you like to win the World Series, the Braves or the Astros. Generally, we like to fade whatever you say because we're sharp. You're not. We know stuff. You don't. Let's get right to it. The public right now, very, very slight favorite towards the Braves. About 52% of the public likes the Braves. Colin, is that sharp or square?
I would say the price is sharp. The pick is square. And to be clear, I'm taking the Astros -150 to win the series because I think the Astros are going to win the series, but I think the price is not good. So, from a betting standpoint, I'm going to wait for Charlie Morton to win this game tonight. I absolutely think the Braves can win tonight, and that makes a better series price on the Astros. Baseball is all about matchups. And, once you get past Charlie Morton, the right-hand curveball, you're going to get into a lot of lefties. You're going to get Max Fried. You're going to get the bullpen. And that's where the Astros just absolutely crush the ball, is against lefties. And the Braves have perceived value based on their starting pitchers. But, when you look at the mechanics that, there was a mechanics change with Luis Garcia. He's going to pitch games 2 and game 6. And if you look at the umpires behind the plate, he gets Ron Kolpa in game 2. He gets Mike Muchlinski in game 6. Those are 2 guys that have the highest strikeout boost in all of Major League Baseball for umpires. Luis Garcia is going to get corners all day. I think the Astros are going to win this series, but they're not going to necessarily win game 1, and that's how you should bet it. And so I will defer on the -150 and wait for a better price, but the Astros are winning the series.
Now I'm also getting an image of you listening to radio in Oklahoma, researching college football, sipping a scotch, also grading umpires. BJ Cunningham, what's your take?
I'm going to disagree with Colin. I know it's going to shock you, Chad, but I'm going to go with the Braves.
You're so mean.
I know. I'm going to go with the Braves at +130. I mean, listen, the loss of Lance McCullers cannot be overstated for the Astros because not only was he their best pitcher this season, but he's a heavy sinker ball guy. Like we already mentioned, the Braves really struggle against sinkers. So now the starting pitching matchup is pretty even, maybe favors the Braves a little bit. The Astros obviously have a big edge in the offensive department. But after game one, they're going to face a load of righties for the Astros, which is going to really favor the Braves because they're really good against right-handed pitching, and the bullpens are also pretty even. But if I'm betting this series purely based on the price, I actually disagree with Colin. I think I'm going to wait until after game one because I think the Astros have an unbelievable matchup tonight and are going to win game one. And I think Braves overall can win this series in 7 or 6 games. So I think you can get a wonderful price on the Braves, probably north of plus 200 to actually win the World Series if the Astros actually win game one. So I think I'm going to wait until after this game to actually bet the Braves on the series price. But if you had to ask me right now, I do think the Braves are going to win this in 7 games.
Oh my God, I love it. We have diametrically opposed views, not just down to who's going to win, but when you should make the bet on who's going to win. Sean Zerillo, break the tie between these two nemeses, Collin Wilson and BJ Cunningham.
Yeah, I think this question is purely about whether you think the team who has the better matchups, which in my opinion is the Astros, are going to win the series, or whether the Braves at plus 130 have theoretical value, which they do, projected them at 45%, so plus 122. Would want plus 133 or better to bet them. But personally, I think the Astros win this series, and I'm hoping they do because I have futures on them. But it really comes down to the matchups. After Morton, you have Max Fried, who's a lefty. You have Ian Anderson, who's a changeup heavy pitcher who functionally acts like a left-handed pitcher. You have a bunch of key relievers who are left-handed in that bullpen. Meanwhile, the Astros went with a very fastball heavy approach in the second half of their series against Boston, which allowed them to take over. We've talked about the Braves' struggles against fastballs already in this series. So I think the Astros win this with a fastball heavy approach. And I think they win it offensively by continuing to dominate after already beating the other best pitching staff in baseball in the White Sox.
All right. So basically you're saying you like the Braves price, but you think the Astros are going to win, which makes it even more confusing for people, which means I have to break the theoretical tie. The Astros are winning the World Series, people. So if you want to make any money, it doesn't matter what the price is. Go ahead, bet the Astros to win the World Series. That is my choice. Let me recap everything that we just discussed for everybody. Collin Wilson, your favorite bets. Under 4.5 in the first 5 innings tonight. Carlos Correa, under half a hit. You're on the Astros to win the World Series. You might want to wait to bet them until game 2 so you can get a better price. BJ, you're on under 8.5 total runs tonight. Framber Valdez, over 4.5 strikeouts tonight. And you're on the Braves to win the World Series, regardless of the price. Sean Zerillo, you're going to waffle. We're going to get to that. You're on Adam Duvall, over 1.5 total bases tonight. You're on Kyle Tucker, over 1.5 total bases tonight. You're on the Braves at plus 130 because that's the better price, but you think the Astros are going to win the World Series. So as always, you are sticking to the math. All season long, you have been consistent. You have been about the value. That's why we love you. For Sean Zerillo, for BJ Cunningham, for Collin Wilson, I am Chad Millman. I don't know if this is going to be our last show or not, because if we don't get to a game 7, this may be it. And if it is, thanks to our friends at Major League Baseball, thanks to our friends at DraftKings who sponsored Payoff Pitch all season long, thanks to Christina Ventura, producer, thanks to Evan Abrams, producer. I guess we'll thank Gifford Gould, who came in for the last show of the year to produce it. Congratulations. Thanks to all you for watching. Good luck.